Should we be using AI to summarize research findings? I'm going to put that to the test today. I have been doing some research on onboarding. I have been using AI tools like Perplexity and ChatGPT to collect some secondary or desk research. I've been doing some research on onboarding when it comes to financial institutions. And I did a little video on that. You can check it out. It's kind of funny. I had my research question and I put it into a couple of AI tools, specifically Perplexity and ChatGPT, asking it about reasons why people would be joining a bank. Again, check that video out. Today, I'm going to take that secondary or desk research that I have accumulated from that effort and throw it back into AI to see how well it does at summarizing this. I have some thoughts of where this should go. I have some general themes that I want to surface, but I want to see if AI can stand up to the test. Let's see how AI does with summarizing research findings. Let's put AI through its paces. There's so much chatter going on about how great AI is and how it's going to change the world and how it's so great for synthesizing data. I personally haven't really done this, so I thought I would give it a try. I'm going to start off with my research questions. I have to warn you, this is going to be another one of those Jen stumbling through videos. It's not scripted. We're just going to try things out and see what happens. And I'm going to do this with synthesizing data using AI. Now, I use Mural as my whiteboarding tool. And I know that there are AI capabilities within Mural, but my company doesn't have them turned on. So I got to go to plan B. And plan B for me is to download the data from my Mural and put it into an AI tool and see what happens. First, I'm going to start off with my research questions. These are the prompts that I put into AI to have them give me data to support my Mural. Let me read off some of the questions that I was trying to explore when it comes to onboarding within a financial institution. All right? My first question is, why are people joining a financial institution? I have a whole video where I go through that question on AI if you want to check that out. I think that is an important question because I want to understand the motivations and the reasons why people are joining a financial institution. Understanding this can be really important with that onboarding experience. So let me go through these questions. I already talked about why are people joining a bank. I also wanted to know, what does a typical onboarding experience look like? Oh, my damn dog downstairs is barking and I'm over him. Ooh, okay, sorry about that. I think I've got the dog under control now. We'll see. What were we talking about? Oh, yes, I was going to give you an overview of my research questions so that you have the context of what I was trying to learn in this research. And I think it's important for you to understand what these questions are so that you know what I'm trying to get out of the AI agent when I'm looking for a summary. Let me just give you some high-level topics or questions that I was hoping to get from this secondary desk research. First, I wanted to know a little bit about just onboarding in general. And I already talked about how I wanted to know the reasons why people join a bank. I also wanted to know what a typical onboarding process looks like for a bank or a financial institution. What are the tasks that take place both for the bank and for the user who is signing up for a bank account? Also, I wanted to know what is not going well in that whole process of onboarding and signing up for a bank, and what is going well in that process. Since I work for a credit union, I was curious if there are differences or nuances when it comes to onboarding between either onboarding at a bank or onboarding at a credit union. Let's see what the GPT and Perplexity have to say about those nuances. The next category after just onboarding in general that I wanted to explore a little bit further was communication with the new customer. I wanted to know in what ways and on what channels people expected or wanted to be communicated with when it comes to their financial institution. Is it on the desktop? Is it on mobile? Is it via text? Is it via email? What are the ways that people want to be communicated with? Not only that, but what do people want to be notified of? What messages do they want to get from their financial institution? And what messages do they not want from their bank or financial institution? They don't want all the things, right? And then finally, I wanted to understand about metrics. What does success look like? How can onboarding success or this initiative be measured? You know, the classic OKRs and success metrics and all that fun stuff. What are some things that we as the product team could use to measure and quantify success? So these were the general themes or the high-level categories of information that I did my secondary desk research on. So let's go to the tools now and see what it's like to analyze this data using AI. Before we go into the analysis, I want to share with you the themes I think should be coming out of this analysis. So I've done the research, I've created some themes, I got a nice little mural going with all my summaries and whatnot. So I have a good idea of what I think the high-level takeaways are from this research, but I want to see if AI matches that. So let me share with you what I think should be coming out of this research. So there's a few things here. Let me get to my page. I shared my research questions with you, and they should ladder up to these themes that I expect to surface in my research findings. So first, it's what are the tasks that are typically involved in onboarding, both from the user side and from the business side. Just basic, what are the things that people have to do? I'm curious if it will surface what an ideal journey should look like. What should it entail? What should it include? And what should it not include? No, I don't expect it to make me a journey map or something like that, but I do hope that it's going to surface some highlights or opportunities to make that ideal onboarding journey. Also, what could be improved at the current state of onboarding? I asked AI what is not going so well with onboarding, so there should be some opportunity to make some improvements there. Also, like I mentioned, that research question, the difference between onboarding at a credit union and a bank. Now, this was just one question in my whole list of questions and prompts that I put into AI. So I think this is a really strong theme, but I'm curious if AI will pull this up as something strong that needs to be shared. Along the same lines, it should be surfacing what information that bank or that financial institution should be sharing with its new customer. Not only what information that financial institution should be sharing, but also in what channels. I saw through this research that certain information should come through certain channels according to user expectation. So let's see if AI can surface those nuances. And finally, like that last research theme that I was talking about, how is success going to be measured? What do success metrics look like? Okay, so now that I've walked through what I think should be brought to the surface when it comes to summarizing this secondary desk research, let's see how AI does. Hey, if you're liking this video, make sure that you hit the subscribe and the notifications so that you do not miss future content from little old me. Okay, here is my pretty mural that I have collected all the data from my secondary desk research. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see my questions. They're all right here. I'm going to skip this pink section because that's kind of related, but I'm not using that for my analysis. So questions here, right? How is onboarding defined? When people want to join a bank or financial institution, what are the main reasons they do so? What is the typical onboarding process for a financial institution? So here are my research questions, and here are the themes and the data points that I collected using AI tools like Perplexity and ChatGPT. I worked a little ahead of time I downloaded the whole file. So I'm going to pause it for a second. And what I'm doing right now is I'm highlighting all these stickies in Mural, and I'm going to download a CSV file and then upload that into ChatGPT and see what happens. Like I mentioned, I know that Mural has some AI capabilities, but my company doesn't have that turned on, so we're going to wing it. I'm downloading, sort of, downloading a CSV file. I'm going to download that. Since it's a small file, it'll come down pretty quickly. And I've got a folder here that I'm going to put this in. And this is my original. This is the whole original. So I'm going to rename this so I know that it's all. Okay, so there's my file. What I'm going to do is I am now going to go over to ChatGPT and ask it to, what should we say? What should we say? Analyze these data points to give me a summary of this UX secondary desk research. This might not be a great way to prompt this. If you've got a better suggestion, let me know. But I'm going to try that. Analyze. Why don't we spell analyze right? That helps. Analyze these data points. I'll make that 2 words in case it causes confusion. Analyze these data points to give me a summary of this UX research. And I'm going to upload from the computer and see what it says. So we're going to go navigate, to that. Now you're seeing all my crazy file structure. Onboarding analysis, original, all. Okay, let's open it. Let's see what it says. It's uploaded. And let's see what it says. It's analyzing. Analyzing all the data. Okay. 790 entries. So what? Who cares? Key content. Key observations. Okay. Visual categorization. All right. So this is a problem because who cares what color the sticky is or what type of document this is? So what it's doing is like really analyzing it like it's a spreadsheet. So what that says to me is that I need to clean this up. So let me go in to this file and just delete all the columns that don't matter, which is quite a lot. All I really need to know is this column right here. I'm going to delete column A. This column is the only column that I need to know. This is the column with all the words, right? Okay, just curious. How many lines of data do we have here? Is it that 790? Yeah, pretty close, 791. All right, so let's try saving this, cleaned up just to be the words. Let's try it again. Okay, try this file. Analyze the data here to come up with themes for a summary report from secondary desk research. I know, I changed the prompt up a little bit. Oh well, we'll see what happens. I'm gonna save that, upload that file again from the computer. Okay. Let's see. Let's see what happens. See if the magic happens this time. Last time I just kind of looked at it as an Excel spreadsheet. Well, big whoop-de-doo. Now let's see if it comes up with some interesting themes. Content focus. Okay. Structure. This is now. Okay. The cluster and identify themes. That's what I'm trying to get you to do. I want you, ChatGPT, to analyze the themes here. Thanks for nothing. Okay, so this is not helpful at all. I also have Claude here. So let me copy that prompt. Analyze the data to come up with themes for a summary report. I want to try Claude. I just signed up for Claude today. I've never used it. So this is going to be a little bit of a learning curve for me. Let's see what happens. For a summary report from secondary I'm going to put UX so that they'll follow that. I'm going to use the little handy, oh, okay. It's going to a different place. I'm going to go find my file. Clean, nope. Original, all, open. Okay, let's see what happens. Again, this is my first time using Claude, so I don't know. I figured I would sign up for it and see what happens. I usually use like Perplexity or ChatGPT, but I don't know. Thought I would try something different. All right, so lots of stuff coming in. All right. This actually feels like a summary report. It's actually looking at the data, which is kind of good. It's talking about digital transformation and channel preferences. Well, I don't know. Digital transformation? I didn't talk about that. That is not what we're talking about here. Channel preferences, yes. When it comes to which one we should communicate with them. That makes sense. Customer segmentation and communication preferences. We didn't talk about customer segmentation, so why are we doing this here? I have no idea. Pain points and friction areas. Yes, I do want to talk about that. Success metrics and KPIs. Yes, that's another one. Trust and security balance. Though I didn't say that was a theme I wanted to cover, that isn't a bad one because that's a lot of the friction or the issues of onboarding. We want to make sure that this person who is signing up for an account is a legit person and not fraudulent and all this stuff. And the person who is signing up for a bank account also wants a secure place and wants their account to be secure, right? And in doing that, we need to exchange information. So security is an important issue when it comes to joining a bank. Makes sense. Personalization and product alignment. Yes, that is something I also think is an underlying theme that I didn't specifically discuss, but I did think that this would be a data point around that. So let me see over here on the right-hand side what it has to say around these things. Oh, it's got an executive summary. Yes, let's start off with the big picture. What does it say? Analysis of secondary research data reveals several key themes in banking and customer onboarding, highlighting the difference between security requirements, user experience, and personalization needs across different customer segments. It's a pretty weak executive summary, but it's not completely off. Key themes. Again, digital transformation, I'm not buying that. Research indicates a clear shift toward digital first onboarding. That is true. That did come through the research. With emphasis on mobile first interaction preferred. I don't know that I said that, but maybe if I looked at the data a little bit closer, it does say that. I'd have to look at that again. Multi-channel support. Yep, that makes sense. Preference for completing onboard in 10 to 30 minutes. I did have some things about time frames, so that's is pulled from the data. Growing importance of features like document scanning and biometric authentication. Yes, that is true too. However, I don't know how that fits in with digital transformation. That feels like a buzzword, so I would definitely kill that digital transformation thing and think about how I would present this data differently. Customer segmentation and communication preferences. That was my second big thing, right? What do new customers want to hear about from their bank and in what channels? Prefer mobile first for certain things, not necessarily. So I'm going to have to call bullshit on that topic. That is a blanket statement, and there are some nuances there that I think I want to explore or explain. Value quick digital process. Yeah, that's obvious. Respond well to app notifications and messaging platforms. Yes. Expect seamless digital experiences. That's obvious. I would take that out because I hate these fluffy things that really mean nothing. But it's like, yeah, obviously. It's like saying, oh, she wants to breathe air. Well, no kidding. What else does she need? A little less generic than that. Okay. Busy professionals. So I did have a small section that had a little bit about, I would say, segments or personas. So I guess there was a little bit of segmentation, but I think there's a little too much emphasis on that. I wouldn't really have that much emphasis on this. They focus on the segments of busy professionals, older adults. There were, I think, maybe 2 or 3 other categories besides this that I included, but it's interesting that it surfaced that. Maybe I should bring that into it as well. I don't know. Pain points and friction areas. Yes, this is a really important theme. Excessive documentation requirements. Yes. Repetitive data entry. Yes. These make sense. Instructions are unclear. A long verification process. Disjointed experiences. I think that those are all pretty strong data points to back that up, but I would need to go back and read the friction points again to see if anything is omitted. Now, a lot of this stuff seems to be like basic knowledge and understanding, right? Obviously, a digital experience or a seamless digital experience is something that seems like a no-brainer. So you want to balance, or at least I want to balance, some of those, what I call almost assumption statements that are pretty obvious, along with some really meaty, maybe controversial statements that not everybody agrees with. That opens the discussion for should we be going in this direction or that direction, right? Friction is a really important one because onboarding is very difficult and challenging and not done well by companies. So really focusing on where there are pain points, I think, is the opportunity to improve. Success metrics and KPIs, onboarding completion rate, first transaction rate, mobile banking and adoption rate, feature and adoption rate. Yes, I think these are all pretty good. Customer satisfaction, I know that I had NPS in there, but I'm not sure if I had customer effort score. I might have. I'd have to look at the data again to see if I had that one in there. Post-onboard survey results. Yes, I did have that in there. There's a trouble dog again making noise. He is just ornery today, just really antsy. And operational efficiency, I did talk about operational, that is probably what I called it. Average onboarding time, some of this technical aspects that are more on our side or more the operational side, for lack of a better term. And then trust and security balance. I think that is one of those obvious statements. Trust and security, let's see, what's it say here? Customers understand the need for security measure, but expect them to be seamless. That's one of those obvious statements. I think I might leave some of that out because we know that customers don't want to have to waste a lot of time or provide all this information, but they know they do have to provide some information. So finding that balance, that's kind of a give me. What would be really valuable is to pinpoint, yes, we should say these 3 things, and no, we should not include these 4 things because we can get that information later or we just don't need it. So that's what's really valuable, is providing specific examples, maybe comparing it to what other financial institutions do, providing specific examples of what to include in that onboarding process or what info should be required then that first interaction versus what is not necessarily required ever or what could be gathered later on. Personalization, yes, I do know from this research and research I've done at other places, people want a personalized experience. They want you to understand what their financial needs are and to cater that experience around meeting those needs. So that's something that's really important. Okay, this is what every research report should have, and that is recommendations. I cannot stand when a research report just ends with, this is what we found. We need to be information connectors. We need to have a point of view and a point of direction based on what this research has provided. Recommendations are key, folks. Please tell me you are including recommendations every time that you share your research findings. Now, if your product friends or your stakeholders do not agree with your recommendations, that's a whole nother issue, and that can be discussed. However, I have found that stakeholders do want a little bit of direction based on the data that you collected. So please make sure recommendations are always included. All right, looking at this, These are the recommendations: digital experience enhancement, implement streamlined document upload capabilities. I think that could be stated in a more simple way. Sometimes I think that reports are really lofty. And remember, or maybe you don't know this, I think I read recently that the average American reads at a 6th to 8th grade reading level. So don't get fancy, folks. You know the acronym KISS. Keep it simple. I love this. It's so good. Keep it simple. So don't use fancy words in your report, because chances are they're just skimming this. So the more that you can have succinct and tight writing when you're sharing not only your recommendations, but your findings and everything, the better that report is going to be, the more active that report can become. Keep your language simple, stupid. Okay, so communication strategy. Develop segment-specific communication plans. I think I'd want a little bit more. Maybe it's not segment specific, but maybe it is. Maybe it's need specific. Maybe it's where they are in their journey. There's a lot of ways to explore what that communication strategy could be. A lot of ways to slice that. So they're saying segment based, but that's because they pulled that segment stuff out. If I didn't find that that was something I really needed to surface, maybe I want to focus more on a timeline. Here are the communications that should happen on week 1, week 2, within month 1. If that's what I need to focus on, that strategy is going to be looking a little bit different than if I was focusing on those segments that the research surfaced. Hopefully that makes sense. Create a multi-channel support options. Yes, that makes sense. Establish proactive follow-ups and protocols. I think that all falls within just what your strategy is, right? And what channel are you going to do your communication in, and for what? See, that's something that didn't surface here that I think is really important. There are certain channels that are more optimal to communicate things than others. For example, if you have a fraud alert happening on your account, you want to know that right away. You might want to know that via text, or if you have the mobile app, a push notification sent to you. You don't want to find out that there's something fraudulent happening on your account the next time you log into your online banking on your computer, which could be days or weeks from now, maybe never. So if it's an urgent message, you want that message to come in a more urgent channel. However, if you're just wanting to look at your accounts overview or just kind of balancing your books, you might want to do that on your computer because there's more screen real estate and you might want to do it there. And that's not urgent. Maybe that's just an end of month resolution of your balances, or just check in to make sure everything is cool. You don't need notification to do that. So it's key to understand what types of messaging should come through what channel. And I did break that down a little bit in my research, and it's not really surfacing here. So that's something I would go back into my mural board and be like, look, I got to dive a little bit deeper and give some specific recommendations on what type of messaging should be happening where. Kind of drop the ball a little bit here. Process optimization, reduce redundant data entry, implement autofill, streamline verification steps. Yes, to me, that's kind of basic stuff too. Depends on how lofty I want to make this report. I don't really know that that would make the cut, because those seem like common sense tactics to make that application process of becoming a member of the bank, to make that process easier on the new customer. To me, this is like, duh, obvious. Do I really need it? Support, offer 24/7 support, provide multi-channel assistance, create self-service options. Yes, I think that is true. I don't know that that's actually part of onboarding. I think that's part of just servicing the customer of the bank. So to me, this might be a little bit of that duh stuff. Like, this is obvious. This is not onboarding specific. So I might trim that out. That's the key here. You want to focus on providing information that is very specific to the process or the project that is the ask, right? There are a lot of things that could be included in an onboarding experience. But what will you highly recommend, based on research, that your onboarding program should or should not include? That is the key here. So you have to pick and choose what are the big rocks that your onboarding program or process should tackle, and know that some things are kind of obvious and they don't really need to be stated here. Measurement framework, yes, that is something that I talked about, that success measurement, right? Track completion rates by segment. Again, I don't know that I would break this apart by segment, but because this has pulled the data out about that segment, it's latching onto it a little bit. If my people found segmentation really important, might be something to use, but I would probably drop the segmentation part. Monitor channel effectiveness. I don't know what that means. To be honest, I would want something a little bit more specific than just monitoring some effectiveness. When we talk about success metrics, we're talking about things like completing things off a checklist, or getting certain things done, or using certain features. These are things that can be measured. Effectiveness, that's kind of squishy to me. So I would have to explore what that actually looks like and if I can put some KPIs around that. Scratching the effectiveness one. I'm not buying it. And then customer satisfaction, measure that consistently. Sure, absolutely. Now, we're at the conclusion. The research highlights the importance of creating a flexible, personalized onboarding experience that balances security requirements, user convenience, Success depends on understanding and adapting to different customer segments while maintaining operational efficiency and regulatory compliance. Big deal. I don't know, that feels like a lot of fluff, a lot of and I just don't really love conclusions like that. I want bullet point conclusions. Here were the big rocks. A lot of times I'll make my conclusions similar to the executive summary because it's like a nice little sandwich. Here's what we started with. Here's what we ended with. And that is probably how I would have a conclusion. I also would definitely have next steps and what additional research efforts, what additional questions did we uncover in this research that we need to investigate further. And really strong recommendations on how we can improve this onboarding experience based on the knowledge that we have gathered today. Now, granted, there could be technical constraints. There could be resource constraints. There could be all kinds of reasons that we cannot act on the onboarding recommendations that I might have from this research. But, like I said before, we are providing a direction of where we should go based on what we've learned from the secondary desk research. I will say Claude was way better than GPT. GPT was absolutely useless. But I would want to compare how this structures the data to what I think the big themes are that I want to bring out. I might break this down even further, like you saw on my mural. Let me show you again. On my mural here, how I have these yellow sections that's just on onboarding at a financial institution, right? I might just simplify that section and say, how would you write a report for that? A little bit finer, getting a little bit more into the details of that, because I think there's a lot of gold there that was left out. So I will probably take a summary report of that section and throw it into Claude, not wasting my time with ChatGPT now, throw it into Claude and see what it surfaces there, and then do the same thing again for this green, this communications preference section. Do it again one more time for this little blue section for the outcomes. So there you have it. There's my rough and dirty trying out AI to synthesize data. What's the verdict? I'm still going to have to go back manually and look at the themes and make sure it's surfacing what I really want it to. But I'm going to compare. I'm going to keep the data from GPT, or sorry, not GPT, because that was trash. I'm going to keep this data from Claude, kind of keep it in a Word doc, keep it as something high level, and then compare it to the mural and see what that looks like. But what I'm going to do first is, like I said, break those 3 sections apart. Say, how would you write a report for just the onboarding? How would you write a report for just the communicating? And how would you write a report just for those KPIs and measuring success? But then writing it again as one big report. Would I rely on this as my report? Only if I had to give it in like the next 10 minutes. I still think that there's other data that's buried deep within that analysis that didn't quite bubble up to the top. So I will have to go back and do the analysis and surface other things that I think are really valuable for the team to know. So here's the issue I have with AI tools synthesizing data like this. That AI tool doesn't really know the nuances of what I'm really trying to surface here by doing this. It doesn't know my objective. It's just giving me summaries. It also doesn't know what those aha moments are. You know what I'm talking about. Those really interesting little nuggets that you're like, I didn't think about that. And it's not a huge nugget. It's just a little nugget, but it's amazing. And you want to make sure that your team is aware of it. And a lot of times when you're synthesizing data, those get lost. That's why it takes a little bit of a manual process to make sure those little special nuggets do come out in the final report. All right, we've reached the end. Thanks for sticking with me all the way. Let me know what you thought of this process. What did I do wrong? How could I have made this better? What suggestions do you have if it's my prompts or tools or whatever it might be that I could actually use to synthesize my findings so I don't have to make this a manual process? Help me out. Let me know. Leave me a comment. Thank you so much. Bye.